Princess Zarathi stood by the window of her empty room and looked out at the palace below. Her skin glowed softly, like a candle in the dark. It was a weak glow. Nothing like the bright light that covered her sisters and the other members of the royal family. Their skin shined like small suns. Hers barely lit the space around her. She pressed her hand against the cold glass and watched the preparations below. Ships were landing in the main courtyard. Strange ships, not from her world. They were human ships, she had heard the servants say. The humans were coming to meet with her father, the emperor. Zarathi had never seen a human before. She had read about them in the library, in the old books that no one else wanted to read. Humans came from a planet called Earth, far away in another part of space. They had no glow on their skin. They could not speak with their minds. By Valorian standards, they were weak and simple, but they were coming here, to Valoria, and that meant something had changed. You should not be at the window. The voice came from behind her. It was Mira, her servant, the only person who spoke to her regularly. Zarathi turned away from the glass. I only wanted to see them arrive. Your father said you must stay in your rooms, Mira reminded her gently. The humans are here for important talks. He does not want complications. That was what Zarathi was to her family. A complication. A daughter who did not shine bright enough. A princess who could barely send her thoughts to others, while her sisters could speak into the minds of people across the palace. I know, Zarathi said quietly. She walked away from the window and sat on her bed. Mira looked at her with sad eyes. The servant was old enough to remember when Zarathi was young, when she still believed she might grow into her light. But that had never happened. At 20 cycles old, she was as dim as she would ever be. I will bring you dinner later, Mira said, and left the room. The door closed with a soft sound. Zarathi heard the lock click into place. They locked her in. They always locked her in. When important guests came to the palace, she lay back on her bed and stared at the ceiling. The stone above her was carved with beautiful patterns, spirals and stars that glowed with captured light. Everything in the palace was beautiful. Everything except her. Hours passed. The light outside faded as their sun set below the horizon. Zarathi could hear music and voices from far below. The welcoming ceremony had begun. Her father would be there, standing tall and bright. Her mother would be beside him, elegant and powerful. Her two sisters would stand behind them, perfect examples of Valorian beauty. And she would be here, alone, in a locked room. But Zarathi had a secret. Years ago, she had discovered a passage behind one of the stone panels in her wall. It led to a narrow hallway that ran behind the palace walls. She could walk through it and come out in different places. She had used it to visit the library at night, to walk in the gardens when everyone else was asleep. She could use it now. Zarathi stood and went to the wall. She pressed her hand against a certain stone, and a section of the wall slid open. Cool air flowed in from the dark passage. She stepped inside, and the wall closed behind her. She moved carefully through the darkness, her weak glow giving just enough light to see. The passage wound through the palace, behind rooms and halls where she was not allowed to go. She could hear voices through the walls sometimes, servants talking, guards walking past. After a while, she reached a place where thin cracks in the stone let in fresh air and light. She was behind the grand hall now, where the ceremony was taking place. She found a spot where she could see through a gap in the decorative stonework. The hall was full of people, Valorians in fine clothes, all of them glowing bright and beautiful. At the front of the room stood her father, the emperor. He wore robes of deep blue that seemed to hold the night sky inside them. His skin blazed with white light, so bright it was hard to look at him directly. Next to him stood Lady Sarana, Zarathi's oldest sister. Sarana was everything a Valorian princess should be. Tall, graceful, with skin that glowed like the morning sun. She could speak with her mind across vast distances. She was being trained to rule the empire one day. Zarathi's other sister, Lyra, stood on the other side. She was not as bright as Serana, but still far beyond what Zarathi could ever hope to be. And then Zarathi saw them. The humans. They stood at the entrance to the hall, a small group of 5 or 6. They wore strange clothes, dark uniforms with symbols on them. Their skin did not glow at all. It was pale or brown or pink. Just flat color with no light inside it. Their faces were different too. Flatter than Valorian faces, with small noses and strange eyes. One of them stepped forward. He was tall for a human, with short brown hair and kind eyes. He walked with confidence, but not arrogance. When he reached the Emperor, he did not bow as deeply as most visitors did. He nodded his head with respect, but he did not act afraid. "Emperor Kale Moore," the human said. His voice was deep and steady. "I am Captain Ryan Brooks, of Earth's Stellar Alliance. We are honored to be here." The Emperor studied him for a long moment. Zarathi could feel her father's mind reaching out, trying to read the human's thoughts. But humans could not be read that way. Their minds were closed, private. To Valorians, it felt strange and uncomfortable. "Captain Brooks," her father said finally, "welcome to Valoria. We will begin our discussions tomorrow. Tonight, you are our guests." The ceremony continued. There were speeches and music. The humans were shown to their seats. Servants brought food and drink. Zarathi watched it all from her hidden place, her eyes drawn again and again to the human captain. There was something different about him. Something in the way he looked at things, with interest and curiosity instead of judgment. When Lady Serana spoke to him, glowing brilliantly, he smiled and listened, but he did not look at her the way most people did, with awe and desire. He looked at her like she was simply another person. Zarathi wondered what that would feel like. To be seen as just a person, not as a failure or a disappointment. The ceremony ended after a few hours. The guests began to leave the hall. Zarathi knew she should return to her room before Mira came with dinner, but she stayed a moment longer, watching as the human captain walked toward the exit. He paused near the doorway and looked up. His eyes seemed to scan the upper levels of the hall, the balconies, and the decorative walls. For just a second, Zarathi thought his gaze found the gap where she was hiding. She held very still, barely breathing. Then he smiled slightly, as if he had seen something interesting, and walked away. Zarathi's heart beat fast in her chest. Had he seen her? Did he know someone was watching? She turned and hurried back through the secret passage, back to her room. When she emerged from behind the wall panel, everything was as she had left it. She sat on her bed and waited for Mira to bring dinner, but her mind was not on food. She kept thinking about the humans, about Captain Ryan Brooks and his kind eyes. She wondered what it would be like to talk to someone who did not know she was supposed to be worthless, someone who might look at her without pity or disgust. Outside her window, the stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Zarathi made a wish on them, like she used to do when she was a child. She wished for something different, something more than this lonely room and this empty life. She did not know that her wish was about to come true. The next morning, Ryan Brooks woke early in his guest quarters. The room was beautiful, but strange. The walls seemed to glow with their own light, and everything was made of smooth stone that felt warm to the touch. He had slept well. Despite being so far from Earth, after breakfast, the meetings began. Ryan and his team sat across from Emperor Kale Moore and his advisors in a large conference room. They talked about trade routes, resource sharing, and defense agreements. The Emperor was cold and formal. He made it clear that he believed humans were beneath Valorians, but that he was willing to work with them if it benefited his empire. Ryan kept his patience. He had dealt with difficult leaders before. He listened carefully and asked good questions. His second officer, Commander Lisa Morgan, took notes on her tablet. The other humans on his team stayed quiet and professional. The meetings went on for hours. When they finally took a break in the afternoon, Ryan was glad to step outside. The palace was enormous, with countless hallways and rooms. A Valorian servant offered to show him to a waiting room, but Ryan politely declined. "I would like to walk a bit, if that is allowed," he said. "Stretch my legs." The servant looked uncertain but nodded. "Please stay in the public areas of the palace." Ryan thanked him and started walking. He had no particular destination in mind. He just wanted to see more of this alien world, to understand the people better. The palace was like a maze, with corridors branching in every direction. After a while, Ryan realized he might be lost. He turned a corner and found himself in front of a set of large glass doors. Through them, he could see a garden, the site of growing things, of green and color, called to him. He had been in space for weeks. He pushed open the doors and stepped outside. The garden was incredible. Plants from Valoria grew in wild, beautiful patterns. Some had silver leaves that chimed softly in the breeze. Others had flowers that glowed like small lamps. Vines climbed up crystal structures, and water flowed through channels carved in the stone paths. The air smelled sweet and clean. Ryan walked deeper into the garden, following a path between flowering bushes. He heard the sound of water and found a small fountain in a quiet corner. The space felt peaceful, hidden away from the grand halls of the palace. That was when he saw her. A Valorian woman sat on a stone bench near the fountain. She was looking down at a book in her lap, so absorbed in reading that she had not heard him approach. Her skin glowed softly, much dimmer than the other Valorians he had seen. The light was gentle, like starlight or moonlight on Earth. It gave her an ethereal quality. Ryan took a step closer, and a twig snapped under his boot. The woman's head jerked up. Her eyes went wide when she saw him. She stood quickly, clutching her book to her chest. For a moment, she looked like she might run. "I am sorry," Ryan said quickly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I did not mean to startle you. I was just exploring and found this garden. It is beautiful." The woman stared at him. She seemed shocked that he was speaking to her. Her eyes were a deep violet color, unusual and striking. Her features were delicate, more subtle than the bold beauty of the Valorians he had met in the palace. You are the human captain," she said quietly. Her voice was soft and uncertain. "Yes, Ryan Brooks." He smiled at her. "And you are?" "Klein." She hesitated. "I am. No one important. Just a servant in the palace." Ryan did not think she was a servant. Her clothes were too fine, and there was something about the way she carried herself that spoke of education and breeding. But he did not challenge her. If she wanted to keep her identity private, that was her choice. "Well, no one important. You have done wonderful work with this garden," he said, gesturing to the plants around them. "Do you take care of it?" She blinked, surprised by the question. Yes, I spend time here. No one else comes to this part of the garden. That is a shame. It is lovely here. Peaceful." Ryan walked closer to the fountain and looked at the water. "We have gardens on Earth too, but they look different from this. Still, there is something familiar about being around growing things. It feels like home." The woman watched him cautiously. She seemed unsure what to make of him. "You are far from your home," she said. "Yes, very far. But that is part of the job." Ryan turned to look at her again. "I am a diplomat. I travel to new worlds, meet new people, try to build bridges between cultures. Do you like it?" "Most of the time, though I admit, it can be lonely. Hard to make real connections when everyone sees you as the representative of your entire species instead of just a person." Something shifted in the woman's expression. A flicker of understanding passed through her eyes. "Yes," she said softly. "I know what that feels like." They stood in silence for a moment. A breeze moved through the garden, carrying the scent of the glowing flowers. The woman's dim light seemed to pulse gently, like a slow heartbeat. "Your light," Ryan said, then hesitated. "Is it rude to mention that? I am still learning what is polite and what is not in your culture." "Well," the woman looked down at herself. Shame crossed her face. "It is acceptable to mention it. My light is weak. I am flawed." Ryan frowned. "Flawed? Why would you say that?" "Because it is true." Her voice was bitter. "Valorians are meant to shine brightly. I do not. I never have. It means I am less than others." "One." Ryan studied her for a long moment. He thought about the Valorians he had met, all of them blazing with light so bright it was almost hard to look at them. He had found it overwhelming. Actually, beautiful, but overwhelming. This woman's soft glow was different. It was subtle and gentle. It reminded him of twilight on Earth, that peaceful time between day and night, when the world felt calm. "I think your light is lovely," he said honestly. "Like starlight. On Earth, we love the stars. We write poems about them. We make wishes on them. Bright light can be harsh. Soft light can be beautiful." The woman stared at him. Her lips parted in shock. "Lovely?" she repeated, as if she had never heard the word applied to herself before. "Yes," Ryan smiled. "Truly. I mean it." She looked like she might cry. Her hands trembled slightly where they held the book. "No one has ever." She stopped, swallowed hard. "Thank you." Ryan wanted to ask more, wanted to understand why such a simple compliment affected her so deeply. But before he could speak, he heard voices calling his name in the distance. "Captain Brooks? Captain Brooks, where are you?" It was Lisa and the others, looking for him. "I should go," Ryan said reluctantly. "But I hope I see you again. Maybe we could talk more about your world and mine?" The woman nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Ryan walked toward the voices, but he paused at the garden entrance and looked back. The woman was still standing by the fountain, watching him. In the afternoon light, her gentle glow made her look like something from a fairy tale. He waved, and after a moment, she lifted her hand in a small wave back. That evening, after more meetings and a formal dinner, Ryan found himself thinking about the woman in the garden. He stood on the balcony of his quarters and looked out at the palace grounds. Somewhere out there was that quiet garden, and maybe she was there again. "You are thinking hard about something," Lisa said, stepping onto the balcony beside him. "The negotiations?" "No, actually." Ryan smiled. "I met someone today. A Valorian woman in the gardens." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "Oh? Should I be concerned about diplomatic complications?" "It was not like that. We just talked." "But, Lisa," she said, "her people consider her flawed, because her glow is not as bright as theirs. Can you believe that? They judge worth based on how much someone shines. Different cultures have different standards." Lisa said carefully. "I know, but it seems so arbitrary." She was kind and intelligent. And honestly, I found her light more appealing than the others. It was not trying to overpower you. Lisa was quiet for a moment. "Be careful, Ryan. We do not know the politics here. If she is who I think she might be, getting involved could complicate everything." "Who do you think she is?" "I heard the palace servants talking. The emperor has 3 daughters. 2 are always present at ceremonies, but there is a third who is never seen. They say she is kept hidden because she is not bright enough." Ryan's hands tightened on the balcony railing. "They hide her? Their own daughter? It is their culture. It is wrong." Ryan's voice was firm. "I do not care what their culture is. Treating someone that way is wrong." Lisa put a hand on his shoulder. "I agree with you. But we are here to build an alliance, not to start a revolution. Just be careful." Ryan nodded, but his mind was already made up. Tomorrow, if he could find the time, He would go back to that garden. He would talk to the woman again, learn her real name, understand her story. He did not know yet that he was about to change both their lives forever. The negotiations between Earth and Valoria were not going well. Emperor Kyle Moore wanted control of certain trade routes that passed through human space. Ryan and his team refused. The Emperor grew colder each day, and the meetings became tense. But every evening, when the official talks ended, Ryan found his way back to the garden. And every evening, she was there. They had been meeting for 5 days now. The woman still had not told him her real name, but she no longer pretended to be a servant. They sat together by the fountain and talked about everything. Ryan told her about Earth, about oceans and forests, about cities full of millions of people. She told him about Valorian history, about their expansion across the stars, about their culture and beliefs. On the 6th evening, Ryan brought her a gift. It was a small crystal he had bought from a trader on his last mission. When light passed through it, it made rainbow patterns on nearby surfaces. She held it up to the fading sunlight and watched the colors dance across her hands. "It is beautiful," she whispered. "It reminded me of you," Ryan said. "Something that does not create its own light, but makes beauty when light passes through it. There is nothing wrong with that. It is a different kind of beauty." She looked at him with those deep violet eyes. "Why are you so kind to me? You do not know me." "I know enough. I know you are smart and curious. I know you love this garden and take care of it. I know you have been hurt by people who should have protected you." Ryan moved closer. "And I know that whoever told you that you were not enough was wrong. I am Princess Zarathi," she said suddenly. "Third daughter of Emperor Kyle Moore. I have been hidden away all my life because my light is weak and my mental abilities are poor. By Valorian law, I am a disgrace to the royal family." Ryan felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "You are not a disgrace. You are a person who deserves to be treated with dignity and respect." "Your people believe that?" Zarathi asked. "On Earth, everyone is treated equally?" Ryan laughed, but it was a sad sound. "No, not always. Humans have a long history of treating people badly because of differences. Skin, color, gender, who they love, where they come from. We have fought wars over it. Many people have died fighting for equality. But things have changed? They are changing, slowly. We have laws now that protect people. We have learned that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. When everyone is valued, everyone contributes their gifts." Ryan looked at her seriously. "It was not easy. It took centuries. But we got there, because people refused to accept injustice. They spoke up. They fought for change." Zarathi was quiet for a long moment. "I have never fought for anything. I have just accepted what I was told about myself. That is not your fault. When everyone around you says the same thing, it is hard to believe anything different." Ryan reached out and took her hand. Her skin was warm, and the soft glow pulsed under his touch. "But now, you have met someone who sees you differently. Maybe that can be the start of something." She looked down at their joined hands. "The start of what?" "That is up to you." They sat together in silence as the sun set completely. The garden's glowing plants provided light, along with Zarathi's gentle radiance. Ryan realized he had never felt more peaceful than in these moments with her. "Ryan," she said softly, "I must tell you something. My sister knows about our meetings. Lady Serana has spies everywhere in the palace. She has told my father." Ryan's stomach dropped. "What will happen?" "I do not know. But it will not be good. For either of us. I do not care what your father thinks. You should care. He could expel you from Valoria. The alliance your people want would fail." Zarathi pulled her hand away from his. "I should not have let this continue. I should have stayed away." "Do not say that." Ryan moved to sit directly in front of her. "These evenings with you have been the best part of my mission. Maybe the best part of this whole year. I am not going to regret them, no matter what happens. But your work is important, yes. But it is not more important than this, than you. The words came out before Ryan could stop them. He realized they were true. Somewhere over these past few days, he had started to fall for this lonely princess, who had never been told she was worth anything. Zarathi's eyes filled with tears. You cannot mean that. I do mean it. She stood up quickly, backing away from him. No, you are just being kind. You pity me. That is all this is. Ryan stood too. Zarathi, I do not pity you. I admire you. You have survived years of cruelty and isolation, and you have not become cruel yourself. You are still gentle and curious and kind. That takes strength. I am not strong. You are stronger than you know. Ryan took a step toward her. And I think you feel something too. Something for me. She closed her eyes. A single tear ran down her cheek, glowing softly in the dark. It does not matter what I feel. I am not allowed to feel things. I am not allowed to want things. Says who? Your father? Your people? They do not get to decide that. Ryan was close to her now. You are a person, Zarathi. You have the right to want happiness, to want love. Love? She opened her eyes and stared at him. You think this is love? I think it could be, if we let it. Before she could respond, a bright light flooded the garden. They both turned to see Lady Serana standing at the garden entrance, glowing like a small sun. Behind her were 4 palace guards. How touching, Serana said, her voice cold. The defective princess and the primitive human, playing at romance in the dark. Ryan stepped in front of Zarathi protectively. Lady Serana, this is a private conversation. Nothing in this palace is private from me, human. Serana walked closer, and the guards followed. You have been meeting with my sister in secret for days. Did you think no one would notice? Did you think you could corrupt a member of the royal family without consequences? I have not corrupted anyone, Ryan said firmly. We have been talking. Getting to know each other. Is that illegal in your culture? It is forbidden for Zarathi to interact with guests without permission. She knows this. Serana looked past Ryan to her sister. Father is waiting for you. Both of you. And Zarathi moved to stand beside Ryan. Her dim glow seemed even fainter next to Serana's brilliance. What will he do? You will find out. Serana gestured to the guards. Escort them to the throne room. And make sure they do not run. The guards surrounded Ryan and Zarathi. They walked through the palace corridors, past servants who stopped and stared. Word was already spreading. The hidden princess had been found with the human diplomat. When they reached the throne room, Emperor Kale Moore was waiting. He sat on a throne that seemed to be made of solid light. His glow was so intense that Ryan had to squint to look at him. The Emperor's advisors stood on either side, along with Ryan's team. Lisa looked worried. Captain Brooks, the Emperor said, his voice echoing in the large room. You have violated the hospitality of my house. You have pursued a relationship with my daughter, without permission or proper protocol. With respect, Your Majesty, I did not pursue anything. We met by chance and enjoyed talking with each other. I was not aware that conversation required permission. Do not mock me, human. The Emperor's light flared brighter. You know exactly what you were doing. You sought to gain advantage by seducing a member of my family. That is not true, Zarathi said, her voice shaking but determined. Father, he did nothing wrong. I am the one who kept meeting with him. I am the one who wanted to talk to him. The Emperor turned his burning gaze to his daughter. You have no wants. You have no desires. You are a shadow of what a Valorian should be. And you will not speak in this court. Ryan saw Zarathi flinch, as if she had been struck. The anger he had been holding back exploded. How dare you speak to her like that? She is your daughter. She is a disappointment, the Emperor said coldly. As you are about to become a problem, I am ending our negotiations. You and your team will leave Valoria immediately. Sir, Lisa stepped forward. Please reconsider. We can find a solution that... There is no solution. The humans have shown their true nature. You seek to weaken us through manipulation and inappropriate relationships. Leave now, or I will have you removed by force. Ryan looked at Zarathi. She stood with her head down, tears streaming down her face. Every cruel word from her father was a wound. He could not leave her like this. No, Ryan said. The entire room went silent. No? The Emperor leaned forward. You refuse my command? I will not leave her here to be treated this way. If you want me gone, she comes with me. The Emperor stood, his light blazing so bright it hurt to look at him. You dare. I dare, Ryan interrupted. Because someone has to. Someone has to tell you that the way you treat your own daughter is wrong. It is cruel and unjust. And I will not stand by and let it continue. Then you will not stand at all. The Emperor gestured to his guards. Arrest the human. He will remain in our cells until his people pay for his release. The guards moved toward Ryan. Lisa and the other humans started to protest. Zarathi cried out in fear, but Ryan stood firm. He looked directly at the Emperor, meeting those burning eyes without flinching. Do what you want to me. But history will remember this, and it will not remember you kindly. Ryan spent 2 days in the palace prison. It was not a terrible place. The cell was clean, and they brought him food and water. But he was alone, cut off from his team, and from Zarathi. He worried about what had happened to her. On the 3rd day, Lisa came to visit him. The guards let her sit outside his cell to talk. How are you holding up? She asked. I have been better. Ryan managed a smile. Any news? Earth is negotiating for your release, but the Emperor is demanding a huge payment and a formal apology. He says you insulted the royal family. Lisa shook her head. Command is angry with you. They think you ruined the entire mission. Maybe I did. Ryan sat down on the bench in his cell. But I do not regret it. I know. Lisa looked at him with sympathy. For what it is worth, I think you did the right thing. That girl deserves better than what she has been given. End quote. 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 Have you heard anything about her? Only rumors. Apparently, the Emperor was furious with her too. Some say he plans to send her away, exile her to a distant planet where she cannot cause more embarrassment. Lisa frowned. Ryan, there is something else. Something strange is happening in the palace. Ryan. Something strange. Ryan. There is something else is happening. Ryan. What do you mean? People are talking. Younger Valorians, mostly. They were in the throne room. When you stood up to the Emperor, they heard what you said. Word has spread. Lisa leaned closer. Some of them are starting to question things. One of the Emperor's own advisors came to speak with me privately. He said, there are others, like Zarathi, Valorians who do not shine as bright as they should. Ryan felt a spark of hope. So, I am not the only one who thinks this is wrong? No. But speaking against the Emperor is dangerous. These people are afraid. Lisa paused. However, they are willing to help, if someone is brave enough to lead. Who? Before Lisa could answer, the cell door opened. A palace guard stood there, but he was young and looked nervous. Captain Brooks, you are summoned to the Imperial Court. Now. Ryan stood. What is happening? The guard did not answer. He just gestured for Ryan to follow. They walked through the palace halls, Lisa coming along behind them. When they reached the throne room, it was packed with people. Valorians of all ranks filled the space, murmuring quietly among themselves. The Emperor sat on his throne, his light blazing but his expression dark. Lady Serana stood beside him, looking concerned, and in the center of the room, facing the throne, stood Zarathi. She looked different than Ryan had ever seen her. She stood straight, her head held high. Her dim glow seemed steadier, more focused. When she saw Ryan enter, relief flashed across her face, but she did not move. "Captain Brooks has arrived," the guard announced. The Emperor looked at Ryan with cold eyes. "You are here to witness the consequences of your actions, human. My daughter has requested to speak before the court. I have granted this, as is her right by law. Then, I will pass judgment on you both." Ryan was pushed forward to stand beside Zarathi. He wanted to take her hand, but guards stood too close. "Zarathi, daughter of the light, you may speak," the Emperor said formally. Zarathi took a deep breath. When she began to talk, her voice was quiet at first, but it grew stronger with each word. "Father, members of the court, I stand before you as someone who has been silent her entire life. I have accepted every cruel word, every judgment, every moment of isolation. I believed what you told me about myself, that I was defective, worthless, a shame to my family." She paused, looking around the room. Many Valorians would not meet her eyes, but some did. Some watched her with interest. Then I met Captain Brooks, a human from Earth, a world we consider primitive. And he looked at me and saw something different. He saw someone worth talking to, worth knowing. He called my light lovely. Her voice cracked slightly. "No one had ever said that to me before." "This is not relevant," the Emperor interrupted. "You are here to answer for your disobedience." "It is relevant," Zarathi said, and there was fire in her voice now. "Because it made me ask a question I should have asked years ago. Why do we judge worth by the brightness of one's glow? Why is that the measure of a person's value?" Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some sounded shocked. Others sounded thoughtful. "Our light shows our strength," Lady Serana said. "Our mental power, our genetic fitness. It is the foundation of our society. But is it?" Zarathi turned to face her sister. "I have spent my life in the palace library, reading everything I could find. I have studied our history. I know that our ancestors valued many things: wisdom, compassion, creativity, bravery. When did we decide that only one kind of strength matters?" An older advisor near the throne spoke up. "The young princess raises a fair question. Our ancient texts do speak of a more balanced approach to evaluating worth." The Emperor shot him a dark look. "Those are old traditions. We have evolved beyond them." "Have we evolved?" Zarathi asked. "Or have we simply become more narrow in our thinking? Captain Brooks told me about Earth's history. They used to judge people by many things that did not matter. The color of their skin, whether they were male or female, who they loved. They fought wars over these prejudices. Many died." 4. She walked closer to the throne, and the guards tensed, but the Emperor waved them back. Earth learned that diversity makes a civilization stronger, not weaker. That every person has value, regardless of how they are born. They are not perfect. They still struggle with these lessons, but they are trying. Zarathi looked directly at her father. "What are we doing? We hide our children away if they do not shine bright enough. We waste their potential. We break their spirits. For what? To maintain an arbitrary standard?" The room was completely silent now. Everyone was listening. The Emperor stood slowly. His light pulsed with anger. "You have been corrupted by human ideas. You speak treason against your own people." "I speak truth," Zarathi said. "And I am not the only one who feels this way. There are others like me, Valorians who have been cast aside. Ask them if they think our system is just. Ask them if they feel valued." "Enough." The Emperor's voice boomed through the hall. "You will be silent." "No." Zarathi stood her ground. "I will not be silent anymore. I am done accepting shame for something I cannot control. I am done believing I am worthless. The Emperor raised his hand, and energy crackled around it. For a moment, Ryan thought he might actually strike his own daughter. But before anything could happen, a voice spoke from the crowd. She is right. Everyone turned. A young Valorian male stepped forward. His glow was moderate, not dim like Zarathi's, but not brilliant either. My name is Kael. I am a scholar in the palace, and I am tired of pretending that I am not good enough. I have worked twice as hard as my brighter colleagues. I have written papers and made discoveries, but I am overlooked because of my light. Another voice spoke up, a woman this time. I am Lara. I am an engineer. I designed the new energy systems in the western cities, but I was not allowed to present my own work because my glow would embarrass my sponsors. More voices joined in. One by one, Valorians stepped forward and shared their stories. Stories of discrimination, of being treated as less than, of having their achievements dismissed. Ryan watched in amazement. Zarathi had sparked something. She had given these people permission to speak their truth. The Emperor looked around the throne room with growing alarm. Even some of his advisors were nodding along with the testimonies. The foundation of his power was being questioned. This is a conspiracy, he said. You have all been influenced by the humans. This is their doing. No, Zarathi said firmly. This is your doing. You created a system where people feel worthless. Captain Brooks simply helped me see it for what it is. He helped me find my courage. The Emperor turned to Ryan. You have poisoned my daughter's mind. For that, you will pay. You will be executed, and your people will be barred from Valorian space forever. Wait. Zarathi moved to stand in front of Ryan. Please, Father. I will do anything. I will accept exile. I will leave Valoria and never return. Just let him go. He does not deserve to die for showing me kindness. Ryan put his hands on her shoulders. Zarathi, no. Do not sacrifice yourself for me. Ryan, Zarathi, Zarathi. She looked back at him, tears in her eyes. I would rather spend my life in exile with hope than spend it here in this palace feeling worthless. Let me choose this. Let me choose you. How touching, the Emperor said bitterly. My defective daughter and her human pet, willing to die for each other. You will leave Valoria together, and you will never be allowed to return. Father, please. Lady Serana spoke up suddenly. Is this wise? The humans are a growing power. To make an enemy of them over this, silence. The Emperor rounded on his eldest daughter. You dare question me as well? Serana looked startled but held her ground. Then let it start. The Emperor was losing control now, his composure cracking. I will not be dictated to by humans or by defective children. One of his senior advisors stepped forward, his light steady and wise. Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider a different approach. Exile seems harsh for what amounts to an unauthorized friendship. The Emperor turned on him. You too? Has everyone in this court lost their minds? No, the advisor said calmly. We are simply considering new perspectives. Is that not what wisdom requires? The Emperor looked around the throne room. He saw doubt in many faces. He saw support for Zarathi in others. His absolute authority was being challenged, and he did not know how to respond. Finally, he spoke, his voice cold and controlled. Fine. I will offer a compromise. Captain Brooks will be released. The negotiations with Earth will continue, but Zarathi will accept her exile willingly. She will leave Valoria and take a position as an ambassador to Earth, representing our interests there. She will be cut off from her family and her inheritance. If she agrees to these terms, the human goes free. Ryan started to protest, but Zarathi squeezed his hand. I accept, she said clearly. Zarathi. Ryan began. She looked at him with a small smile. It is not exile if it is my choice. And I choose to go to Earth. I choose a life where I am valued. I choose you. 3 months later, Zarathi stood in a conference room on Earth, looking out at the blue-green planet below. The space station orbited peacefully, home to diplomats and representatives from dozens of different worlds. She still could not believe she was here. The past months had been a whirlwind. After leaving Valoria, she had traveled with Ryan and his team back to Earth. The journey had taken weeks, but Zarathi had not minded. Every day away from her home world felt like freedom. Every conversation with Ryan and the other humans taught her something new about herself and what life could be. When they arrived at Earth, she had been nervous. What if humans only seemed kind because they were visitors on Valoria? What if their equality was just an act, but it was real? She met humans of every color and background. She met people who had overcome prejudice and discrimination. She met scientists, artists, teachers, and leaders who all believed that every person had value. It was not perfect. There were still problems, still unfairness. But people were trying. They were fighting to make things better, and they welcomed her. They did not care that her glow was dim. Most humans could barely see it anyway. They cared about who she was as a person, about her mind and her heart. The door to the conference room opened, and Ryan walked in. He smiled when he saw her by the window. Ready for the big day? Today was the official ceremony. Zarathi would be formally recognized as Valoria's ambassador to Earth. She would also be giving a speech about cultural exchange and understanding. The past weeks had been spent preparing, learning about Earth's diplomatic protocols, practicing her speech. I am nervous, she admitted. You will be wonderful. Ryan came to stand beside her. You were brave enough to stand up to your father in front of the entire court. This will be easy. Ryan. Zarathi smiled. That feels like a lifetime ago. A lot has changed. Ryan took her hand. Over the months, they had grown closer. What started in a garden on Valoria had bloomed into something deeper. Ryan had been patient, letting her adjust to her new life, never pushing. But the feelings between them were undeniable. Ryan, Zarathi said quietly, I need to tell you something. I heard from Valoria yesterday. Ryan's expression grew concerned. What did they say? It was a message from Lady Serana. She said that things are changing at home. After I left, more Valorians spoke up about the unfair treatment of those with dim glows. My father tried to suppress it, but the movement grew. Young people especially are demanding reform. That is good news, is it not? Yes. But Serana also said something else. Zarathi looked down at their joined hands. She apologized. She said she was sorry for how she treated me all those years. She said she was jealous. Jealous? Of what? Of my freedom. She is the heir. The perfect daughter. But that means she can never make her own choices. Every part of her life is decided by duty and expectation. She said she envied me for being brave enough to choose my own path. Zarathi's eyes filled with tears. I never thought I would hear those words from her. Ryan pulled her into a hug. People can change. Maybe your father will too, someday. Maybe. Zarathi did not think her father would apologize. But perhaps that did not matter anymore. She had found her own worth. She did not need his approval. They stood together for a moment, looking out at Earth. Then, Lisa's voice came through the comm system. Ryan, Zarathi, they are ready for you. In the main hall, the ceremony was beautiful. The hall was filled with dignitaries from Earth and representatives from other allied worlds. Zarathi wore a dress that blended Valorian and human styles, silver fabric that caught the light. When she walked onto the stage, some of the Valorians in the audience gasped. Among them were several dim-glowing individuals who had also left their home world, seeking better lives elsewhere. The Earth's Secretary of Interstellar Affairs gave a speech welcoming Zarathi. Then, it was her turn to speak. She stepped up to the podium and looked out at the crowd. Her hands trembled, but she took a deep breath and began. Thank you all for this warm welcome. 3 months ago, I was a prisoner in my own home, told that I was worthless because I did not shine bright enough. Today, I stand before you as an ambassador, a representative of my people, and most importantly, as someone who has learned that worth comes from within. She paused, gathering her thoughts. I am not here to speak against Valoria. It is my home, and I love my people. But I am here to speak for change. For the idea that every being, regardless of how they are born, deserves dignity and respect. Captain Ryan Brooks showed me this truth. He looked at me and saw someone valuable. Not because of my title or my appearance, but because of who I am inside. Ryan sat in the front row, watching her with pride. Humans have a saying. They say, do not judge a book by its cover. It means, do not decide someone's worth based on how they look. Judge them by their actions, their character, their heart. Zarathi felt her voice growing stronger. This is the lesson I hope to bring back to my people someday. This is the bridge I hope to build between our worlds. The audience applauded. Zarathi saw some of the dim glowing Valorians crying, nodding in agreement. AC9, 1B into 2 Eining. I want to end by saying thank you. Thank you to Earth for accepting me. Thank you to everyone who has shown me kindness. And thank you to Captain Brooks, who saw light in me even when I could not see it myself. She stepped away from the podium as the applause grew louder. Ryan stood and walked onto the stage. The ceremony protocol said he should just shake her hand formally. But he did not care about protocol. He wrapped her in a hug, and the audience cheered. After the ceremony, there was a reception. People came up to Zarathi to introduce themselves and welcome her. A young Valorian woman, with a dim glow, approached shyly. Ambassador Zarathi? My name is Mira. I left Valoria 2 years ago. I just wanted to say thank you. For speaking up. For giving us hope that things can change. Zarathi hugged her. Thank you for being brave enough to leave and make a new life. You are an inspiration too. More dim glowing Valorians came forward. They formed a small group, talking and supporting each other. Zarathi realized that she had found a community. People who understood what she had been through. People who were building new lives based on their own terms. Later that evening, Ryan and Zarathi escaped to one of the station's observation decks. It was quiet there, with a beautiful view of Earth and the stars beyond. You were amazing today, Ryan said. I was terrified, Zarathi admitted with a laugh. You hit it well. Ryan moved closer to her. Zarathi, these past months have been incredible. Getting to know you, seeing you become more confident, watching you find your voice. It has been an honor. It has been more than that for me. Zarathi turned to face him. You changed my life, Ryan. You gave me hope when I had none. You showed me that I could be more than what I was told. You always had that strength inside you. I just helped you see it. They stood close together, the stars shining around them. Zarathi looked down at her hands. Her glow seemed different somehow. Warmer. Brighter. Ryan. Look. She held up her hands, and they both watched in amazement. Her glow was increasing, pulsing with soft light that grew steadier and stronger. It was still not as bright as Lady Serana's blazing radiance, but it was beautiful. Clear and steady and lovely. What is happening? Ryan asked in wonder. I do not know. I have never. Zarathi touched her face, feeling the warmth there. I have never felt like this before. So full of light. Ryan understood suddenly. You were not defective. You were suppressed. All those years of being told you were worthless, being isolated and shamed, it dimmed your light. But now that you are free, now that you are happy, my true light is emerging. Zarathi looked at herself in amazement. The glow spread across her skin, steady and beautiful. I was never broken. I was just kept in darkness. Ryan cupped her face gently. You are so beautiful. Not because of the light, Zarathi said, meeting his eyes, but because of who I am inside. Right? Right. Though the light is nice too. Ryan smiled. Zarathi, I have to tell you something. I think I am in love with you. I think I have been since that first day in the garden. Zarathi felt her heart overflow with joy. Her glow pulsed brighter. I love you too. I think I have been waiting my whole life to meet someone like you. Ryan kissed her gently, and she kissed him back. Around them, her glow illuminated the observation deck, filling it with soft, beautiful light. The kind of light that came not from power or genetics, but from happiness, from love, from finally being free to be herself. When they pulled apart, both of them were smiling. What happens now? Zarathi asked. Whatever we want. Ryan took her hand. We build the alliance between our worlds. We help other people who have been treated unfairly. We make a difference. Together, Zarathi agreed. They stood there for a long time, holding each other and watching the stars. Zarathi thought about the princess she used to be, locked in a room, believing she was unlovable. She thought about the journey she had taken to get here. It had been painful. It had been hard. But it had led her to this moment, to this person, to this new life full of possibilities. Her father had been wrong. She was not a disappointment. She was not defective. She was exactly who she was meant to be. And that was enough. More than enough. She was lovely. And for the first time in her life, she truly believed it. Far away on Valoria, in the palace library, a young girl with a dim glow sat reading. She was alone, as she always was. The other children did not play with her. The adults looked away when she passed. But on this day, she found a new book on one of the shelves. It was about a princess who was told she was worthless. A princess who found her courage and changed her world. The girl read the whole story in one sitting. When she finished, she looked down at her hands, at her dim glow, and she smiled. Because if Princess Zarathi could find her light, maybe she could too. The change had begun. And it was spreading, one person at a time, like light breaking through darkness. Slow, but steady, and impossible to stop, just as it should be.